Welcome to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and today we're talking about ScamJam. It is the fifth annual ScamJam this year, hosted by Fairfax County. The Silver Shield Task Force has put this event together for the last 5 years, and it is a collaboration between Fairfax County government and AARP Virginia. Joining us today is Martin Bailey, who's an ambassador with AARP and a member of the Silver Shield Task Force, and Melissa Smarr, who is with Fairfax County government and a member of the Silver Shield Task Force. So I'm going to start with Melissa just to give us a bit of background on how the Silver Shield Task Force started. I know that there was a lot of interest in that, and we have board of supervisor members who were very instrumental in that.
Yes, you're correct, Catherine. So back in 2017, Vice Chairman Gross actually passed a board matter that started Silver Shield, and it has morphed into what it is today. We have organization or departments within our government that are involved: Consumer Affairs, Neighborhood and Community Services, Office of Public Affairs, Office of Emergency Management, Department of Public Works, Environmental Services, our Fairfax County Police Department. My department I work for is Land Development Services, and the Department of Family Services. So we meet monthly. We have been, as we were talking earlier, doing outreach online because of the pandemic. So we've had to shift our in-person education into virtual. It's been a success, but I know people are definitely wanting us to hopefully get back in person in the next year or so.
And the whole idea of Silver Shield basically is an interagency task force to protect senior citizens because seniors are often the victims of scams, all kinds: in person scams, online scams, telephone scams, and in every variety you can think of. And it's a large county, 1.2 million people. It's a huge geographic area of Fairfax County, from the eastern part on the Route 1 corridor to the western part in Herndon and Chantilly. And there's so many opportunities for international, highly sophisticated operations to target residents of Fairfax County. And so the Silver Shield really was about figuring out the best way to try to make people aware, give them tools, give them protocols that they can follow. And that's kind of where, AARP Virginia came in too. And AARP Virginia, very robust chapter of AARP. They have a huge ambassador force, and Martin Bailey is one of those ambassadors, and he works on many particular programs with AARP. So, Martin, give us a little bit of background on your fraud network work, because that has been a primary focus of yours recently.
Yes. The AARP instituted the Fraud Watch Network, and it works to empower individuals to fight against fraud. And what we do is we put the proven tools and resources right at their fingertips. And everything that AARP Fraud Watch Network offers is free. Whether you're an AARP member or not, it is a free resource for you. And if you go to the website on the screen, it's AARP Fraud Watch Network. You can go there and you can get all kind of resources. And you can also look at the different scams that are out there. We have podcasts that show different scams. And also we have some TED interviews with Kathy Stokes, who's going to be one of our speakers at the ScamJam this year.
Yeah, so you've got a very robust lineup of speakers. And I have to wonder if being virtual has kind of been an aid in getting people to be speakers, since no one has to get in their car and travel anywhere.
For some of the speakers, it has been. Luckily for us, though, Kathy is in the D.C. area. So if we needed her, she could have actually been in person. And the other two speakers from FINRA and the Security Exchange Commission, they are also in the D.C. area. So they could have been here in person. But like you said, it is a lot easier to get the speakers virtually. We've had several AARP presentations. We've had speakers from California for elder abuse, things like that. And again, it is really great to have the virtual ability as well as hopefully next year, the in-person ability.
So, Melissa, I know that you are doing a lot of the outreach, that Fairfax County government is kind of like taking the point on this. And normally this would be held at the government center, wouldn't it?
That is correct. Yes. So since the pandemic, we have been unable to hold it at the government center. And as Martin mentioned, our goal is to have it in person in 2023. But at the time when we were doing the initial planning, we were still in the Omicron variant phase of the pandemic. So it was decided just to do it virtually, so that we can at least get that information out to our folks, because there's still scams that are being perpetrated because of the pandemic.
Absolutely. And we should mention that it is Friday, April the 22nd. It is in the morning from 9 to 11:30 a.m. So you kind of packed a lot of really great speakers and presentations into that amount of time, 2.5 hours. But it again, there's you can go and sign up for it. It's easy to find it, aarp.org/Fairfax Scam Jam. And it's going to be on a Friday morning, which I think is going to be helpful for people's schedule as well. So, Martin, give us just a brief overview of who your speakers are, starting with your keynote.
Oh, the keynote speaker this year is going to be Kathy Stokes. And Kathy is AARP's Director of Fraud Prevention Programs. And as the director, she leads the efforts to educate consumers on how to spot and avoid scams. Kathy has worked in and around the financial security arena for close to 3 decades, and she's a frequent public speaker. In fact, I think she has 2 recent TED presentations out on the internet, if you care to search for those. She's currently serving as the on an advisory council for the Board of International Associations of Financial Crimes Investigators. So she is an extremely good speaker. Next, we have Tom Magnelio. He is the Senior Counsel for the Office of Investor Education and Advocacy for the United States Securities and Exchange Commission. As a Senior Counsel, Tom researches and drafts investor alerts and bulletins. He manages the investor education content for the SEC's website, and he will conduct presentations on investor fraud, investor education, and he also is a very big contributor to the SEC's Twitter and Facebook pages. His prior position, and this is what's really great about him as far as ability to fight fraud, is he used to be in the SEC's Division of Enforcement, where he investigated violations of federal security laws, inside trading, Ponzi and pyramid scams, as well as accounting and brokerage fraud. He's also a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh School of Law. And our closing speaker is going to be Christine Kiefer. She is the Senior Director for the Finance Industry Regulation Authority, Investor Education Foundation. You probably know it better as FINRA. And if you go to the FINRA site, again, there's a lot of good information out there, and it's all free. Now, Christine directs the research and development programs for law enforcement, victim advocates, and consumers to advance investor protection and fraud prevention initiatives. She also serves as an advisory board to the National Audit Protective Services Association and the Cybercrime Support Network. She's got a Bachelor of Science degree from Vanderbilt University with a double major in economics and mathematics. She is extremely well versed as far as the education goes. And this is one of the reasons why we have her is not only for the financial scams that's going to be running, but to show the people the different resources that are out there on the web for them.
And there is just so much. So, I'm sure there's not a person listening to this show who has not gotten an email, multiple spam calls, even in the mail. But I remember the last time we did a show about this, we also talked about in-person scams. And Melissa, here in Fairfax County, people are still going door to door, home repairs, grinding your tree stumps, all kinds of things. And it's a fairly efficient from the door into your bank accounts, taking everything you have. Has that abated at all during COVID?
Absolutely not. And unfortunately, we have actually seen even more cases. Now, of course, this is, as we have talked about previously, scams are very underreported. My investigator, along with a Fairfax County police detective, are right now investigating a woodchuck or the people from the Fredericksburg, Culpeper, and Warrenton areas of Virginia. A gentleman was taken for over $800,000, and the work that was done actually has to be completely ripped out and done again because it actually
It
did
was just a cover, right?
with the structural integrity, it just totally ruined it.
Right. So it was a cover.
Yep.
And this is what people don't understand. And you hit on something that Martin has also talked about too, and that is the embarrassment seniors feel, or any people, but particularly seniors feel at having been conned, at having been taken, which is one of the reasons it's so underreported, is this stigma of how could I have been so stupid? And I think that's addressed, isn't it, Martin? You know, in the ScamJam.
That's one of the things we want to talk about is and I know Melissa and I, when we do our presentations, we stress that the victim is not to blame. It is the criminal who is to blame. And a lot of presentations that I have given, victims will come up to me and say how stupid they were, how gullible they were, that they got duped into this particular scam. The whole thing is, no, you were not stupid. You were not gullible. You were a victim of a professional criminal. And this is something that AARP, as well as several other organizations, are trying to do, is get away from blaming the victim to blaming the criminal. The victim of the scam is just that, just like any other crime, they are a victim. And one of the things you were saying about reporting the scam, it is correct. Scams are very, very underreported. In fact, I read a couple of papers where scams may only be reported somewhere between 4 to 10% of the scams that occur are the ones that are reported. So you have all those scams out there that are not reported. One of the reasons, of course, is the embarrassment that I've been scammed. I'm really embarrassed about it. But another big reason that the seniors feel embarrassed about, or they fear, is that they may be losing control of their life when they have to go up to their caretaker or their adult children and say, I've just been scammed. The adult children may sit there and say, Mom, we're going to have to take over your finances because you're not really capable of handling them anymore.
Wow.
And that loses their freedom. And that is one of the biggest fears that seniors have as far as reporting scams, especially to their caretakers. I just gave a presentation this morning that had that we went over that.
No, I can totally see that happening. The loss of autonomy, or your adult children feeling like somehow you should have seen it, which is your point, is not true. But I can understand that would cause reticence for a lot of seniors. We're going to take a short break. We're going to be back after this break to talk again with Melissa Smarr and Martin Bailey about the upcoming ScamJam on April 22nd, virtually here in Fairfax County.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man that gave him a lifetime of nourishment.
He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching.
That's right. No employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, no, this warrior, will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Before we celebrate the freedom most Americans have, we must fight for the freedom all Americans deserve. Because all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Caitlin, be serious. Now take the oath. Come on. I'm totally taking this seriously. Okay, I'm ready. You may begin. I pledge that I will never meet in person with anyone I first met online without checking with my parent or guardian. And furthermore, if my parent or guardian agrees to the meeting, it will be in a public place and my parent or guardian must come along. Do you pinky swear? I do.
When you teach your kids about internet safety, they'll pass it on. For more information, go to cableclicksmart.org.
Welcome back to Your Need to Know. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and tonight we're talking about ScamJam, the fifth annual ScamJam that is being hosted by Fairfax County Government and AARP Virginia through the Silver Shield Task Force. Joining me is Martin Bailey and Melissa Smarr, the dynamic duo that every year helps to put together the speakers and the agenda and to do the outreach so that people know that this is open and available to the public. And even though Silver Shield, is about seniors, the fact of the matter is everybody would benefit for being wiser consumers of phone calls and mail and the people who show up at your door. There's also partners involved too. And so, Martin, you were talking about one of the collaborations that you have that I think you're going to be going over at ScamJam.
Yes, recently the AARP Fraud Watch Network partnered with the Volunteers of America, and they created a new free program to provide emotional support for people who have been impacted by frauds. And this is not only the victim itself, they can be the victim's family. And what it is it's the AARP Fraud Watch Network VOA REST program. And REST stands for Resilience, Strength, and Time. And what we do is we feature small groups who members, a trained facilitator will lead the discussion, usually has between 6 and 10 people in the group. The group is strictly confidential, and they share their experiences on what they felt about getting scammed and how they became victims and things like that. And again, the families are allowed to or are welcome to participate, as well as the individuals. You can attend one, or you can attend as many discussions as you like. Again, they're free not only to AARP members, but to the public. And the biggest thing is, as long as you've been scammed, please, go and Google it. If you just go on Fraud Watch Network and Google VOA or Volunteers of America REST program, you can get their website and their phone number, and you can make an appointment with them. Right now, they meet, I think, 3 times a week, 1 hour each. And as the program expands, of course, I think they'll be meeting more times than that. One of the things we want to do is make sure that when you do see a scam, or if you're a victim of a scam or know somebody who's a victim of a scam, we want you to make sure that you talk about it. It's been shown that if people can talk about the scams, the more they talk about it, the less they'll actually have become victims of the scams. And this is one of the things you can look on, again, AARP's website. If you go to Scam Slams, they're about anywhere from a 3 to 5 minute, little blurb on scams that are going around. And at the very end, we say, in order to stop a scam, if you know about a scam, you can stop a scam. If you know what's going on, you can stop it. And we tell people, talk about the scams. Call up one of your friends that may not, you may not have talked to for a while, and share this information with them. Share stuff about a scam. Share what's going on. They'll probably be glad to talk to you. And if they have any questions, they can get back with you or get back with somebody from the Fraud Watch Network. And find out about these scams and talk about these things. And this is one of the things we want to make sure that people know about.
This just had this idea popped into my head. For as many people who belong to book clubs, they should have sort of a ScamJam portion of the book club that says, now that we've talked about the book, anybody want to talk about the scams they got this week? Any standouts of the scams that you received this week? Because, if we got it to that level where people felt like sharing that information was helpful, instead of feeling like, they don't want people to know that they have been involved or engaged in an attempted scam or a scam, it would make a world of difference. So I'm just going to throw that idea out there that says book club meetings should have 10 minutes set aside to share your latest scam.
There you go.
Because that's how you shed a light on it so that other people don't fall victim. And that's the whole thing, right? Yeah. We don't want other people to be victimized.
That's exactly right. And one of the things with the Fraud Watch Network, they do have scam alerts on there. And in fact, you can get those scam alerts delivered to your inbox if you so desire, or you can just go online and look at them. They also have a scam tracking map, which features warnings from law enforcement around your neighborhood of what scams that are going around in your neighborhood. And they also have the Fraud Watch Network helpline, which if you become a victim of a scam or a fraud, you can call the number up. It's 877-908-3360. It works from Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will get a volunteer who will help you through providing you with resources and references on how to help you through a scam. And if for some reason they don't have enough volunteers on that hotline there, they will refer you to people like myself who will give you a call and again help you through the scam, providing references and resources for you.
And again, AARP has done this as a public service. So
Oh,
you don't
most
have to
definitely, yes.
you don't have to be a member of AARP to use these tools, to call the number and ask for help or to report a scam, or all of that has been provided as a public service by AARP. So I wanted to ask you, Melissa, you had mentioned that you are doing an event at Green Spring at the end of April. Is this something that you do at certain communities where you feel like there's a high targeting of seniors?
Well, we actually receive a lot of requests, and now that people are starting to maybe want people in person as opposed to the virtual world, the hybrid world, as we discussed earlier, I think the senior centers, at least there's been several that have contacted Martin and I that really, really want to have us come and talk about scams because they realize that their seniors may actually become victims of scams even in their communities at the Green Springs and other senior community living facilities around Fairfax County and Virginia as a whole.
Right. And it seems to me that people do know. We were kind of laughing about the fact that, I turned 60 and immediately started getting all kinds of age appropriate mail as if I'm a retiree. And it's interesting what people know about you and things just as public as your birth year, if not your birth date. And the fact that is what makes seniors such an easy target, is that information is out there for sophisticated scammers to know what works well and who the most likely targets are. And again, we talked about not being embarrassed and not feeling stigmatized by the fact that these are professional criminals. These are not one-offs. They've spent a lot of time figuring out what works, and it's all about making money. And they're doing it to make money, and they're taking people's life savings. April 22nd, again, this is we have a very limited amount of time here, but on the 22nd, you're going to have wonderful speakers, and you're going to learn more about programs available to you after April 22nd. The fraud network and the phone numbers and the alerts that Martin was talking about, you can sign up for those. What are some of the other highlights, Martin, that you hope people will take away from the event on the 22nd?
Well, one thing we want to do is make sure they get the idea of the resources are out there for them. You have the AARP Fraud Watch Network. You have the Volunteers of America Fraud Watch Network. You have those two resources. You have several resources from the Security Exchange Commission, from FINRA, and those two organizations, as well as like the Federal Trade Commission, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Federal Communications Center, or Federal Communications. They all have resources out there. The resources are free. And all you have to do is just go on their website and search for them. And they're out there. In fact, the Federal Trade Commission has one thing on identity theft. It's like a 40-page pamphlet. It gives you a step-by-step process of, if your identity is stolen, how to regain it back. Now, you talked about how people know a lot of things about this. One of the vice presidents of a company called LexisNexis stated that if you are over 18, your identity has been compromised. Just made the blanket statement. It's out there somewhere. And if you look at all the data breaches that have been done in the last several years, that information is on the dark web for purchasing almost from anybody. So this is, again, what we have to be extremely cautious about. And what I end all my presentations with, you really only have two weapons, and it's your due diligence and your vigilance in order to protect yourself against scams.
Well, you're highlighting something really important, and that is the dark web. And there are softwares. I have a software that sends me an alert that says, we found your information on the dark web, and this is what you need to do. We found passwords that have been compromised, and you need to change them. There's some basic things that, we need to remind ourselves and our family members about all the time, which is change your passwords often. Don't use the same password. Make it something that's not easy to guess. The other thing is, if you get, an email, I was saying GoDaddy. I don't even open GoDaddy emails anymore. I just go to my GoDaddy website. I log into my account, and if there's something they need to tell me, it will be there. And if it's not, then I've just been spammed and I've gotten a phishing email. And so all of us need to kind of have good hygiene about how we think about the people who interact with us. Our producer was talking about somebody knocking on his door, what Melissa would refer to as a woodchuck. And what he did was he sent him away and said, well, come back another time. And then he Googled this person to find out that he was involved with a partner who was in jail. So think about good hygiene. It's like just like washing your hands or wearing a mask. We've all done that lately. And think about ways in which you can be extra safe. And one of them is if you've got an account with Dominion Energy and there's no reason for them to be calling or emailing you, just log into your account online or call the Dominion number and identify yourself and say, someone's trying to reach me. So just good hygiene. So we are all better protected. Normally, I hate to even bring this up. Normally, you all have a shredded event as part of ScamJam, and because it's virtual, you're not this year. Is that something that maybe you're going to provide later in the year, or do you know?
So we're actually providing information about our Department of Public Works and Environmental Services. They have, I think, 6 or 8 events that we're going to be highlighting, and then the first one is actually going to be the week after our ScamJam scheduled. So they're going to be out there. They're going to be around Fairfax County, and they'll be open to Fairfax County citizens.
Absolutely. And so that's just the other thing too, is that people still dumpster dive. So don't throw stuff in your trash can. Make sure that it's shredded. So these are just, and I'm not even going to say that they're common sense, because all of us will click on something and go down a rabbit hole. Another great one is Amazon. Oh, your order with Amazon, it's $1,200. And you're like, what? Don't click anything. Just go to your Amazon account. Yes?
One of the things you were mentioned, we said, due diligence and vigilance, and you mentioned a lot of the scams that are going on. One thing I will tell people, it used to be shred your important documents. I'm up to saying right now, you shred everything. Shred the envelope that it came in, because the scammer doesn't need to know that you do business with what credit union or what bank you use. Just shred it. That's what we tell everybody now.
And you know something? That is a great final thought. We've got 15 seconds left in the show, and I want to thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Martin. Encourage everybody to tune in April 22nd, 9 a.m. to ScamJam, because you will learn more. And for all of our past shows, you can go to Inside Scoop on YouTube to find past shows. And for those of you at home, this is what you need to know.